Imagine for a moment that you wake up in the morning and your sleepiness evaporates as you remember that the bank account is running dry, or even worse, the credit cards are all drained. You roll over with a heavy groan, feeling as though the blankets weigh as much as a block of metal pressing down on your body. Another day begins, facing the overwhelm of financial struggles. Even though you want to serve people doing meaningful work, that seems further away than ever. If this sounds at all familiar, please know that you're not alone. Many of us have faced the daunting challenge of making ends meet, unsure how to break free from the cycle of debt and financial stress. Imagine for a moment being $500,000 in debt. Seems impossible, right? Or maybe not so impossible, unfortunately. But what if I told you that there's a way to overcome even the most massive financial hurdles, not just through hard work, which I know you already do, but through a transformative journey of spirituality and resilience? Listen on, because you're in the right place. Welcome to We Are Already Free, the podcast helping down-to-earth seekers to release fear, overcome self-doubt, and step back into the wonder and joy of a purposeful life where we remember that we are already free. I'm your host, Nathan Maingard, and it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. When you hear the words, "we are already free," what comes up for you?
Acceptance.
The shift in awareness.
Human beings are so powerful.
There's so much more.
Everything is love behind it.
Breaking the chains of your own mind.
That which remains.
Nature.
Getting out of the matrix.
We're sitting on the treasure and it's already unlocked.
We are already free.
You're free.
You are a walking map.
Have always been free.
You are always free, already free.
We are already free.
In today's episode, I'm delighted to introduce you to Dan Harrison, who found himself buried in $500,000 of debt in his early 20s. Dan's story is amazing because he didn't just claw his way out, he transformed his entire life, blending practical financial strategies with deep spiritual growth. His story is a testament to the power of faith, determination, and personal evolution. Join us as Dan shares his incredible journey from despair to success, offering valuable insights and actionable steps for all of us conscious misfits who seek to reclaim our financial freedom and live a more fulfilling life. Stay tuned because this episode could be the turning point you've been waiting for. Listen on to discover how Dan Harrison overcame $500K in debt through spirituality and resilience, why embracing a growth mindset is key to financial freedom, what you need to know about integrating spirituality and practicality, how to build financial stability without sacrificing your soul, why faith is an essential tool for personal transformation, and near the end, the unexpected and critical mindset shift every coach, healer, and conscious entrepreneur needs to succeed. One last thing before we absorb the inspiration from Dan Harrison's incredible journey. If you're inspired by the stories of transformation you hear on We Are Already Free and are looking for your own path to personal freedom, the Already Free Academy is here to help. It's an online community designed to empower you with practical spirituality, holistic wellness, and personal growth tools. And guess what? It's currently free to join as we're just getting started and are still kind of in beta, but this won't last for too long. So if you're ready to take the next step towards reclaiming your freedom and transforming your life, visit alreadyfree.me/academy. Join us today and start your journey towards a more fulfilling and abundant life. And now, please enjoy this uplifting and inspiring conversation with Dan Harrison. Someone has told me that you're my doppelganger before, which I thought was really funny.
Totally. I could see it.
Yeah, man. Anyone who sees this video will be like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to dive right into the darkness with you, if that's okay, because your story is one that is to me is massively inspiring. This idea of coming from a place of being in $500,000 worth of debt, which as a South African, I mean, I know that's a huge amount of money anyway, but multiply that by 20 in South Africa and we're kind of like, how is this possible? And how do you come through something like that? So I'd love to hear what was that feeling like when you were in that space? Like how dark did it get? And what did you use to keep going? Because that's just incredible to me.
Yeah, I mean, such a wild story it's like a decade-long story because it took a long-ass time to get out of that hole. And but like initially, I was like full of hope, piss and vinegar, inspiration, thinking that I could build like basically also like really focused on like money, like probably a lot of 20-year-old kids. And and it was before the credit collapse of 2008, and they just lent money to anybody. And I somehow got $500,000 right before the credit collapse. So it's kind of like, I don't even fully know how I got that, but it was perhaps I went into the bank and presented a case, and they're like, yeah, sure, that could work. And so it has this trajectory of amazing, this is great. And then the project fell apart, and then shit got real fast. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And then began the journey of the scramble, the infinite scramble, which over time has been an incredible gift. In what's developed out of that is an ability to solve problems, like creatively solve problems is the skill that I was developing. And it was around that time, it was weird, like a paradoxical journey, because on one hand, I'm devouring self-help and business books, trying to figure out how to get out of this. And then at the same time, like completely numbing out with drugs and just going into some dark depressive states. And so it was like this really full spectrum experience of feeling inspired and also like incredibly in the depths, kind of like both at the same time. Yeah. And then just like relentless, because it was like year after year and just wondering, am I ever going to get out of this? What the hell did I do? Should I just go bankrupt? I'm a fucking idiot. Like all the negative thinking. But yeah, I mean, one, I guess, saving grace or like thing that's been like consistent and is just like a belief that I can figure it out, or that there's also like a power that's helping me behind the veil of time and space. There's a reason for it. There's a purpose for this. I'm learning. And yeah, man, I mean, there's like a lot in there, but that's like the general remembering is fucking hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've just said something very interesting there, because, you know, a lot of people in your situation wouldn't necessarily have come through that in the way that you have. And you said you have there's this faith, this optimism, which it sounds connected to some kind of a faith, that there is some being, some energy that is looking out for you, that wants the best for you. And I'm curious, is that a specific religion, or do you access that in a certain way? Like, how do you stay connected to that energy and that level of faith when things on the outside, on the physical, are fucked?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that contract, while I had the debt, was like an entire process of deepening my faith. There's not a religion. When I was younger, I was in Christian church in high school. But after high school, I started to seek like other avenues and have studied the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching. A Course in Miracles has been the text for the last 10 years that I've turned to a lot inside of, going through this process for me. And what I've come to experience is it's experiential. So there's like things that have happened that I'm like, how? Like I must have faith in something greater, because it's how does that even happen? And I've experienced like so many miracles, and every one of those miracles or experiences has solidified and deepened the faith and the belief. And then over a course of 10 years, it's like, it's a knowing where it's just, and then if now it's, I'm playing in a space, I'm co-creating with something way bigger than me. And it's almost like that energy, that space, whatever you want to call it, trusts me more and more. So through that whole process, it was like I was developing integrity, I was developing character, I was developing a relationship. And then through that process, little by little, that energy, which you can call God, you can call source, I've been playing with bringing God back into the language, like holy language. But it's like, now it becomes a process of surrendering to that, because the belief has been like established that it's okay. If you can do that, what's next? I surrender. What what do you want? What do you want me to do now? What's the next thing you got? And I'm kind of just like grateful to be an observer of my own life and be use me. And then I'm like discovering it as I'm doing it now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, as you're speaking, I'm thinking of, for me, a huge part of it has been, well, it came when you were saying the word God came back into my vocabulary in 2010 when I discovered the poetry of Hafiz. And I read his book of poetry. The subject tonight is love. And it was exactly the reason I had not felt comfortable saying the word God was because I didn't think anyone felt like God the way that I did at a deep level. And when I saw this beautiful Sufi poet speaking about God as like the barroom friend, and like just the way that he dances with the divine was like, oh, that's how I've always felt. And anyway, so I hear you on the reclamation of a word, this tiny word that is the biggest word we have for something indescribable. And I love that.
Totally.
So thank you for sharing that so much.
Yeah.
So the question I wanted to ask you following on to that is, for me, a huge piece of going deeper into faith continues to be plant medicines and psychedelic medicines, and specific sacred mushrooms have been like just so precious, and ayahuasca, but obviously responsibly used with the right kind of guidance, the right kind of space holders, the right preparation and integration. Like those things are as equally important to the medicine itself. So is that a part of your journey, or how does that fit into the divine and that faith that you've been speaking about?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I would say, I guess what kind of comes to mind first is I had a unconscious relationship with cannabis, like throughout a lot of the debt, and it was used as an escape. And then I've gone through like long periods where just have had to cut that out to create space and do work that wasn't using plant medicine. Done mushrooms, had mushroom journeys. I think you're like absolutely right. The container is like, you can do it in an unconscious way, and it has like little to no impact.
Yeah.
Whereas done, or even negative impact, and then whereas done with intention in a container, beautiful transformational experiences. And most recently, I did ayahuasca for the first time. It's been something that's been on my radar for over a decade, but always trusting like the time. I've had many opportunities to do it, and it's not quite the right time. It's not quite the right time. And then this time, like in November last year, it was for sure the time. Like I've never been more sure. I was like, I knew that, and lots of opportunities to not go and do it. But it was done with brothers, my men's group, and it was done in Peru. It was done where there had been a relationship bond for 10 years with the shaman, with one of the brothers in our men's group. And such a sacred space and experience. And it was 5 nights, 3 ceremonies. And man, that was the like deepest, most challenging, most beautiful, transformational experience I've had. And the last thing I'll say about that is, or we can talk more about it, but like in that experience with it was, I'm like very clear that the insights are beautiful. The downloads are like full body downloads, like almost like on a nervous system level. But then it's like the real work is now, without plant medicine. Like the real work is like this integration. Like how do you bring those awarenesses, that insight, those downloads into the everyday? And that's now like the work of mastery.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my experience with it.
I feel you. That's beautiful. Well, yeah, it's always interesting to see how it has been a part of people's journeys, and I would love to talk more about it, but I really want to stay focused on the incredible value that you bring, which is of interest to me and certainly to the people who listen to this podcast, because the huge pain point that I experience, and I know that many of the coaching clients I work with also experience, is because my people are like highly sensitive, nature-loving, kind of seeing through the veils people who have awareness, and they see, okay, well, this society doesn't really work the way that it's currently structured, and I want to be a part of something different, something that really has meaning and aligns with the divine, aligns with the greater picture. But then how the fuck do I live a purpose and make good money enough to support myself and my family and my people doing that? And it's just like this unrelenting wrestle to be authentic, to live authentically as ourselves, while also making them, like, valuing ourselves and being valued for our work, and that work being purposeful and in service. And you, brother, are doing it. So, and you're helping other people to do it. So I guess the question that I'm asking you in this moment is, like, what are the practical steps that you would say to someone right now who maybe is even connected with purpose, where they've done that good work on getting aligned with their why? I'm here to do this good work and help people and be in support, but I'm broke, or I'm stuck in a corporate job, or I'm like, I don't know how to, like, get there so that it can really be sustainable. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I know it's quite a big question.
Yeah. I love it though, man. I appreciate that question. And it's, I mean, what comes to mind initially is like, there's God's laws, there's the universal laws that I think we as coaches and empaths and heart-loving people intuitively feel are at odds with the laws of the world. And it is an oppressive psyche. Like the entire system, the entire model of thinking is an oppressive way of thinking. And we've been programmed with this way of thinking since, like, our earliest years in school. And then propaganda, and just so I think the first step is just realizing to your podcast, we're already free. Like, the reality is we are already free of that. So you're already free of that, but you have to become aware of that. And then you have to if you become aware of that, you realize there's rules to that game. And then you can be above the game, playing it and creating your world as you want. So a couple things is, you got to be clear on what that is for you. So, like, I think a lot of us, even just the game, like the goals that many of us have aren't even our goals. They're goals that have been given to us to create a system. Go to work, get a job, get married, have kids, retire at 65, and then die. It's like, those are goals that were given to us in order to have the system that, like, it propagates the system. So unplug and get really honest with yourself and what is your vision. And then I would say it's go to work, starting to learn about money. And like an example, or this kind of comes to mind, is like, we often live in this, like, world of binaries. So if you were to, I'm thinking of, like, the California yogi who's, like, spiritual, healthy, like, amazing, and, like, beautiful, heart-centered person, and, like, totally broke. And then, like, you go over to New York and you've got the cigar smoking, 3-piece suit wearing, like, banker on Wall Street who's, like, rich as hell and bankrupt spiritually and unhealthy and unwell. And they both look at each other as if they're living life wrong, not realizing that they are each other's teachers. And so they have this binary of, and if you can collapse the binary that one is not right or the other is not right, then you have choice to be both. But until you can collapse a binary, you are at odds with the thing that you want, and you judge it. And so that's kind of the work. And you collapse it, and then you can see from a different place. You're like, oh, okay, I am that guy. I am that girl. What does she have to teach me, without judgment, without the thinking landscape? So so there's that, and then there's just the game has rules. Money has rules, and so just like learning, the reason I was in debt and struggling was because I was ignorant to how it works. And then I learned, and there's levels to the game, and I'm still learning, and I realize how little I know, but I want to play a big game, so I keep learning the next thing.
The growth mindset, which is actually something I learned about some years ago now, but it really shook me to realize, I had a fixed mindset, and I thought I either am good at these things or I'm not good at these things, and if I'm not good at them, it's an indication of my value or lack of value, and therefore all the stories around that, and realizing actually I can learn and I can grow and expand and change and become different to who I was. I think that's a powerful lesson that you're sharing there.
That's actually like a great way of framing it. It's like the growth mindset, because if you have that, then you never stop. Because the point of setting big, crazy freaking goals, like my challenge, I guess, to the listeners here is get bigger goals, like dream bigger than you think is possible. Forget this like 10K months, 100K. Like we need a lot more to live a good life. Like I'm just telling you, like 10K ain't enough, because you give away 42% of that in taxes. So set a goal to make $1 million, but not for the $1 million. It's the growth mindset. It's who you'd have to become inside the process of going after like a big goal like that. And then like you realize that's the whole point of this. And then you hit the $1 million and you're like, cool. But I'm in a growth mindset. So like the money doesn't matter. And then the less the money matters, the more it floods in. It's crazy.
You're definitely hitting against my internal blocks right now, because there's a part of me that is thinking of resources, and like to have that much, I'd have to be taking from someone else. This is the story that runs. And it's actually the self-limiting belief that I'm becoming deeply aware of, because I keep historically self-sabotaging. So when I'm making good money, signing beautiful clients, doing the work that I love, and then I burn it all down because I'm scared that by doing that, I'm going to be that fucking asshole who's taking all the resources, and other people have to have less for me to do that, right? Does that make sense?
It totally does. Yeah. And it's like beautiful, because then you can become aware of the pattern. And like, I did the same thing, man. I think, oh yeah, rich people are greedy assholes. That's actually not even true. Some of the most generous, beautiful, amazing people are the wealthiest that I've ever met, but I had to jig that story. And so it's like, you find the patterns. You find the patterns that are showing up, and you're like, that's the invitation to deeper work. Because then you're like, why does that pattern exist? And you can ask yourself like, well, what's my earliest memory of money? Because like, how does that program get in there? That rich people are bad, or that money in abundance is like scarce, or it's taken from somebody else. Like, get this, the entire system is just printed money. Like they just print money. It's literally nothing. I went into a bank and she types a couple things on a keyboard and poof, 500 grand appears out of nowhere. Like it's literally nothing. So there's nothing there. Like it's nice. It's just and you start to see it and you're like, oh man, like you're not. And in fact, it's the exact opposite. Like that belief. The only way that you can actually attract and receive money is through an equal and equivalent offering of value. So by you getting more money, you're actually doing the exact opposite of the thing that you think you believe. I'm taking from somebody else. You're not. You're actually giving. And that's actually a big flip when you think of like scarcity to abundance. And in that journey of 10 years, that was like, maybe the biggest thing is you go from trying to get money or get clients or get things, and as soon as that flips to I'm just here to give and I want to give, that's the flip from scarcity to abundance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I actually had the experience last year, and obviously I'm still in the throes of this abundance and scarcity thing, but I raised my prices basically in a way like beyond what I ever thought I could charge for. And but what happened because of that, it forced me to relook at what I was offering. And so do a 3-month package. And part of that package, I realized, wow, for that much money, I was a professional songwriter, professional musician for 10 years. I've been a songwriter my whole life. And I love the songs I write. They're very beautiful, lyrical, melodic, and deep and meaningful. And I was like, oh my God, if I charge that much money, that means that I can write every client their own song, because it's like paying me for that time to do that thing and it's been one of my favorite and my clients' most meaningful parts of the whole work together is once we've done all this months of work, right at the end, I write them the song that kind of encapsulates who they really are, their own heart song. And I can do that because I'm charging them money to be able to do that. And so that was like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yes, that's beautiful, man. I love that. That's a great offering. And that's like your unique ability, right? That's something that is unique. And that's like what people will pay for.
Yeah, just moving into the kind of, one of the big challenges that I've experienced in my own journey, and that I know that many others do as well, and it's one of the fears I currently carry, is around burnout. So obviously, especially for those of us who are here to serve others, which you are, and which I know everyone listening is this challenge of giving, pouring from an empty cup, just keep going, and then burnout. Or the other end of that is the stagnation. So either getting stuck and just like nothing's moving, or burning out and not being able to move anything. So what advice would you offer to those people who could to rekindle that energy, to get that purpose, that alignment, that inner abundance flowing, so that we can be giving from a place of abundance again?
I love this question. I think it's like really important to know yourself, in the sense, like, however that is for you. I'll give you an example. My business partner and I, in the human design world, I'm a manifesting generator and he's a projector. And it's like, those are two very different types, right? I have a bigger tank. If he tried to do the work that I do, he would burn himself out by lunchtime. And he's got a different like makeup, right? And so I think first of all, just like understanding like what is your capacity, and what is your strengths, and what is your like highest valued skill sets, and then doing everything that you can to build a business that allows you to spend most of your time in that space. And so this is where, like, in entrepreneurship, which all coaches are, even if they're self-employed, but you have to start, this is like a thinking, right? Like there's a particular mindset journey that you have to go through. If you've been an employee forever and then you start a coaching business and you don't change the employee mindset, you will burn out. So you have to actually go to entrepreneur, business owner as a coach. And so you have to start thinking, what is my highest use of time? What is the most valuable thing that I can do and offer? And how do I get rid of all the other stuff that sucks my energy? And so that looks like hiring. That looks like, in order, it would be somebody to be a virtual assistant to help with that. And like even just that, right? A lot of people don't realize, if you hire a virtual assistant, there's many that you can hire for $10 an hour all over the world, and who are great, and that's a life-changing amount for them. That is $1,600 a month, full-time, like a full-time gig, but that is 160 hours. So like with just like a VA, 160 hours a month that you just got back into your life by not uploading videos and responding to emails and doing social media stuff. Like, there's a thinking that has to change, that you have to think like an entrepreneur. Some good books on that would be like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's another good. 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy. And just, yeah, so it's like those thinking models that allow us to leverage our time better. Yeah. Find your unique ability. Yeah. Build systems, hire people. Yeah. Get help.
That makes so much sense. You are echoing the voice of the universe for me right now. I'm getting this message a lot at the moment. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, I'm listening. But it reminds me of a saying, I think from the book Work the System, maybe, or even the E-Myth Revisited, I think.
Yeah,
anyway, but book. He's work on your business, not in your business. If you are working as the creator of your business, if you're working in the business, you are making a mistake. And so what you've just said reminds me of that. Create whatever the space is that's needed, and the people, the systems, the automations, whatever it is, so that I become the one who is in fact the creator rather than the grunt, I guess the word is I want to use, but it's not quite like that.
I'll just add one thing to this, because I think sometimes people jump to the end. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's like, we all want a simple business, right? Something that's like lifestyle friendly, simple to run, profitable, in our zone of genius. That's what we want. But you have to walk a path to get that, and that path ain't easy. And so it's like, you can't just, I'm just going to build I'm going to hire the people and work on my business. No, probably for 2, 3, 4 years, you're going to be wearing all the hats, and you're going to be bootstrapping it and figuring it out. But that's where you build your systems. That's where you figure things out. That's where and then it's like, and then as you build and you iterate and you improve, you start to see patterns, and then you're like, okay, that can be a system, that can be outsourced, that can be, and you work towards the simplified business where where you're in your zone, you can build, you can scale, you can create a lifestyle business. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. That's one of the ones I have historically struggled with. When it gets to the crunch, I'm like, guess this isn't working. And it's been really nice to shift that pattern where I reached an inflection point some months ago where it was like either I close the podcast down or I double down because it's just not, I would podcast for free forever, but the reality is I can't afford to. And it is a long game. Like I want this to become an effective part of my business. And so the difference that I made there was instead of going, well, I'll do something else because this isn't going fast enough. I went, no, I know I love this podcast with all my heart. I know the value my listeners get. I know how much I love my guests and they love coming on. There is nothing about this podcast that is wrong. I'm going to double down. And I actually took a loan to go and get a podcast coach and actually deepen.
Beautiful.
Which was terrifying, still a bit terrifying because that money still has to come from somewhere. But it felt right, and it still feels right. It's like I'd rather become more invested and have more intensity doing the thing I love than taking the easy route and being like, well, at least I didn't have to spend that money, but my life is shit.
Totally, that's the path, man. That's like literally you'll learn the podcasting thing, but even more than that, you're gonna learn like a different version of yourself. You already are. You made the investment. That's a new version of Nathan. It's like, who's this version of me who just drops whatever? Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's a lovely reflection. So I'd love to hear I know you offer a lot and you do a lot, but like for those, and I will have in the intro, people have heard a bit about what you do, but what would you say is the great value, or who are the people you help? How do you help them, and what is the value you bring to them in the world?
Yeah, I mean, really right now I'm inspired by my client. Like I'm incredibly inspired by my clients. My clients are thought leaders. They are kind of rebels. They're building their own thing. They are primarily in the health space. I feel really called and inspired to help amplify the voice of true health experts and wellness experts, because they're going up against a gigantic propaganda machine that spits anything but truth about health. And so I feel really called and inspired to help amplify those voices, to help build online communities for them where they're free to not be censored, where they're free to track their tribe, where they're free to like share real healing medicine. And yeah, so we work with naturopaths, chiropractors, health coaches, relationship coaches in general. Like the common theme is they are like coaches, and we primarily help them with, I would say, soul level branding and offers. So like having alignment with like their like soul's purpose and understanding like the energetics of entrepreneurship. Right? You can have the same offer, the same strategy, like two people, but one person is coming from fear and desire and another person is coming from acceptance and love. And even if they take the same actions, they just produce different results. So it's like understanding the energetics of the soul in business, and then self-leadership, being able to give yourself a command and follow it, and then developing the skill sets of like money making, sales, advertising, marketing, leadership, hiring, training, these skill sets, and then building out systems, automations to get your time back, and then like strategies. And strategies is interesting because it's typically what everybody like thinks they need and want. And I've accumulated like the craziest back pocket list of strategies because I've had my back against a wall with $500,000 of debt and be like, all right, universe, you and me, let's go. I need 25K next week. Otherwise I'm going down. What's the play? And like, I'll get the download and I'll go from $100 to 25K. I'm like, how? Thank you, universe. And that has happened so many times that I just have a treasure trove of strategies, but those are like, whatever, those are cheap tricks. So it's like you have to have alignment with all those things to build like a truly, business that allows you to live the already free lifestyle.
If someone just wants to get more of you in their world right now, where would you recommend they go?
Yeah, Instagram. The Dan Harrison is probably the main place. We have we just started a YouTube channel, has one video, and we've got a podcast coming out called Uncomfortably Great. Not out yet, but we're interviewing some amazing guests. And then we have a school like a free school community, health coaches community. And if you're a health coach, there's literally, we give away all of our courses and stuff for free. People pay us to implement and get coached, and we give all of our information away for free. So there's like the equivalent of 10K coaching programs are like literally just free in there. So if you have more time than you have money, go get it. It's all there. I've left trails for my whole life. Like I figure something out, I make a framework around it, and I've just left breadcrumbs. So you can follow it.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Okay, and then the question I ask everyone, but you've spoken to it so much in this chat so far. So if there's nothing else to add, but when you hear we are already free, what comes up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think of just like before we came into this world, we're like already free. I don't believe like that this meat suit is the who I am. There's like way more to me than this meat suit and this one life. And the remembering of that in the day to day is how I live, or what I strive for, where I can live in a sense of already free. I get to play by universal laws, not man-made laws. I get to live with an awareness that this material world is not the bedrock reality, that there is something far greater that the eyes can't see. And with that awareness, you create an inner sense of freedom, which naturally gets reflected financially. So if you can embody that state in remembrance of an already free, then the universe vibrationally will match it and do miracles like get you out of $500,000 of debt. So that's what comes up for me with already free.
Oh man, thank you, Dan. What a beautiful message to end on. And yeah, just really appreciating discovering you and getting to follow your work and feel your vibe, really, more than anything. It's so nice to meet an authentic, rooted, heart-open brother who is navigating this gnarly society of ours with such grace and abundance, I guess. So thank you for the inspiration. And I'm sure anyone listening to this is going to be running off to find out more about you. So yeah, thanks again. Really appreciate you being on.
Thank you, brother. My doppelganger. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for joining us again for today's episode of We Are Already Free. I hope you found Dan's journey as inspiring and as enlightening as I did. Be sure to check out more about Dan Harrison and follow his links in the show notes. I have actually joined his community, both the free and the paid communities, just because he's such a rad dude and the work he's doing is so amazing, and it's where I'm at in my own work right now. If you do end up joining what he's up to, I will see you there. For this episode, it was really inspiring for me to explore the challenges of overcoming massive debt through embracing spirituality and combining that with the transformative power of resilience. Remember that you are not alone in your struggles, dear listener. There are always pathways to reclaim your freedom and live authentically. If Dan's story has resonated with you, take these lessons to heart and integrate them into your own life. Before we wrap up, if you're feeling inspired by the themes we've discussed today, the Already Free Academy is the perfect next step on your journey. This online community is designed to empower you with practical spirituality, holistic wellness, and personal growth tools, just like the ones Dan and I were talking about. One of the standout features for me of the Academy is the Morning Practice Challenge, which is the free mini course that has already transformed lives in beautiful ways. Adrian, a previous participant, shared that he was waking up every day in a frustrated fog, feeling hopeless and incapable of making changes. Does that sound familiar? This morning practice challenge helped him to love himself and switch from that self-judging voice of I'm sick, I'm bad, there's something wrong with me, to that voice that was saying, I love and accept myself, I take care, and I do what is actually good for me. He expressed that he feels much more confident, safe, and tolerant with himself, more peaceful. And he also gave me the lovely compliment of saying that I kept it simple, accessible, and supportive, which is awesome. Thank you, Adrian. You can join the Already Free Academy and access the Morning Practice Challenge for free. So don't miss out on this opportunity to take your personal growth to the next level. Just visit alreadyfree.me/academy or just click the link in the show notes to join today and start embodying the empowered state that we've been exploring in this episode. Until next time, dear listener, thank you for being on this journey with me. It is such a stoke and such an honor to be able to share these conversations with such cool people and to inspire you and myself along the way. I hope you enjoy these vulnerable, heartfelt sharings because I'm also just on this journey with you, working it out as I go along. And It's such a privilege to get to do it with you. So until next time, I wish you well. And please remember, we are already free.